Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes.
Hare Krishna. So this morning we're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the Madhya Leela, chapter number 22 and text number 129. Please repeat after me. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Mathurava Shri Murtira Shraddhaye Sevan. Mathura Vasa Shri Murtira Shraddhaye Sevan. Sakala Sadhana Shreshta E Pancha Anga. Krishna Prema Janmayer Pancher Alpa Sangha. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Mathurava Shri Murtira Shraddhaye Sevana. Sakala Sadhana Shreshta E Pancha Anga. Sakala Sadhana Shreshta E Pancha Anga. Krishna Prema Janmere Pancher Alpa Sangha. Krishna Prema Janma E Pancher Alpa Sangha. Maybe one from each side. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Ladies.
Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan. Mathura Vasa Shri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevan. Sakala Sadhana Shrestha E Pancha Anga. Krishna Prema Janmaye Panchare
Okay, so I'll just do the, sorry, I don't have the book in front of me, so I'll just read the translation. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. One should associate with devotees, chant the holy name of the Lord, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, reside at Mathura, and worship the deity with faith and veneration. These 5 limbs of devotional service are the best of all. Even a slight performance of these 5 awakens love for Krishna. So I just read the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur points out that there are 35 items up to the point of observing special vows in the month of Kartik. To these 35 items, another 4 are added, namely marking tilak on different parts of the body, writing the names of the Lord all over the body, accepting the deity's garland, and accepting Charanamrit. These 4 items are understood to be included by Kaviraj Goswami within Archan, worship of the deity. Although these items are not mentioned here, they are to be added to the previous 35 items, thus the total number becomes 39. To these 39 should be added 5 others: association with devotees, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, reading Srimad Bhagavatam regularly, residing in Mathura, the birthplace of Krishna, and worshipping the deity with great respect and veneration. The 39 items plus these 5 come to a total of 44. If we add the previous 20 items to these 44, the total number becomes 64. The 5 items mentioned above repeat previously mentioned items. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami states, Anganam panchakasyasya purvavik vilikitasya cha nikila shreshta bodhaya punarabhyatra samsanam. The glorification of these 5 items, association with devotees, chanting the holy name, and so on, is to make known the complete superiority of these 5 practices of devotional service. The 64 items of devotional service include all the activities of the body, mind, and senses. Thus, the 64 items engage one in devotional service in all respects. So this is a beautiful section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing the Goswamis of Vrindavan. We say the Goswamis of Vrindavan, and they are here gracing us with their presence, are the masterminds of bhakti. They're masterminds because they have mastered their own mind. Who has mastered their own mind? One devotee once said to me, my mind during japa time is like a horror movie. Who has mastered their mind? Very few people. They are masterminds of bhakti because they have complete control over what thoughts are coming and what they're acting on. But they are also masterminds of bhakti because they've understood the mind of their master. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale. They understand what is going through Mahaprabhu's mind, and therefore they write books. Rupa Goswami begins to write books explaining what Mahaprabhu is thinking. Mahaprabhu reads the verse, he comes to Rupa Goswami and he gives him a slap. He said, how did you understand what's on my mind? If someone can read your mind, it's a little like. Mahaprabhu went to Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar said, what can you do? You're wondering why you empowered him to understand everything. So they are masterminds of bhakti because they have understood the mind of their master. But they are also masterminds of bhakti because they know how to masterfully reach the mind of every single living entity. They know how to masterfully turn the mind of any living entity back to Krishna. Because all of us turned away from Krishna. Krishna bahir mukha, hoya bhoga vancha kare, nikata stamaya tare, japatiya dhare. We turned our mind, we turned our attention, we turned all our desires away from Krishna. And therefore, Maya has come and is slapping us down, Jagadananda Pandit says. So the Goswamis of Vrindavan, they know how to bring the mind of every living entity back to Krishna. And therefore, what they document is 64 items of devotional service. These are known as sadhana. And this sadhana, what it does is it transforms the mind and takes the mind back to Krishna. I want you to tell me honestly, when I say the word sadhana, sadhana, how does that make you feel? What words come to your mind? Anyone? Difficult. It's a big struggle. It's like weightlifting. Hare Krishna. Difficult. Yes, what else? Boring. Sometimes we feel it to just not stimulate us. We're told to do sadhana, we feel it doesn't stimulate us. What other words? Obligation. I have to do it. Otherwise I won't get prasadam. Or otherwise I won't be recognized as a devotee. It's a duty. But it's not something I feel like I want to do from my heart. What other words come to your mind? Yes? Discipline. Who likes discipline? No discipline. It's discipline. It takes a lot of mind control. Any good words here? No? Please continue. Tell me what other words come to your mind. Intention. What do you mean by that? Like? Okay, sadhana is like focusing your intention, focusing your attention in a certain direction and trying to be one-pointed. Good. Yes? Repetitive. Doing the same thing again and again and again and again and again. Once I was out on a Harinam in Scotland, and someone came to me after the Harinam, he saw us on the street, and he said, I love you guys, you're always singing, you're always chanting, you're always happy, but don't you guys have any new songs? I said, well, it sounds repetitive. Yes? Guilt. Guilty. Yeah, sometimes sadhana, it brings up feelings of guilt because we may feel, am I doing as much as I can? Am I really doing it properly? Am I really bringing my full attention to Krishna? Sometimes we feel a great inadequacy in our spiritual practice and therefore we think like sadhana, don't. Yes? Progress. Okay. Finally, a good one. Yeah, progress, something which develops you, something which progresses you. You were a great quiz master, actually. You should be on TV. It was, yeah, you can give her a round of applause. Clearly you were empowered by the holy name because throughout the whole quiz you had your hand in a bead bag. That was quite impressive, you know? It was like... It took some empowerment to deal with that rowdy audience, I can imagine. Yeah, progress. Sadhana is what progresses us, brings us closer to Krishna. So many feelings the word sadhana brings up. And sometimes we feel like I was forced. How many of you feel like you were forced to do sadhana in your life? I'll put my hand up as well. Once I was at a temple and, I don't know, in US schools, do you have lines? Do you know what lines are? Oh, you don't have that in US schools? Okay, in UK schools you have something called lines, so it's like if you fry out the teacher, then they give you lines, and lines means you have to write out the same line again and again and again and again. It wouldn't work now, people would just get an iPad and copy and paste. But I was once in one temple, and if you didn't turn up to Mangal Arati on time, they gave you lines. And you know what the lines were? The Maha Mantra. You had to write out the Maha Mantra, 108 lines. I don't know if it was good or bad, but at least we were engaged. So sometimes we feel like we were forced. So sadhana brings up all of these feelings to us. Today I want to share with you that there's a whole nother perspective of sadhana. We have to try to shift our whole consciousness, the whole way we think about sadhana. Sadhana is a very, very incredible word. It can be understood in different ways, but dhana means wealth. Sadhana means with wealth, or it can also mean sadhana, that which is your eternal wealth. So actually we have all of these feelings about sadhana, but actually what the acharyas are telling us is sadhana is the most valuable thing you have in your life. It's the thing which will awaken the greatest wealth in your life. You see, there are different ways by which people measure dhana in the world. Like, what is wealth? Probably the most basic and the most common measure of wealth is Money is the honey. How much money do you have? That's usually how people measure your wealth. Therefore, people are always concerned to know how much are you earning? Like when I joined the temple, one of my family members, he came to me and he said, why don't you get a proper job? I said, I have a job. Prabhupada's my boss. He said, no, this is not a proper job. I said, this is a proper job. I work for Srila Prabhupada. So he said, if you work, what's the salary? That's what he wanted to know. How much are these guys paying you? I said, I don't know about the salary, but the retirement plan is out of this world. So people, he wasn't impressed by that either. So people want to know, like, where's the money? Like one time a reporter came to Prabhupada, he said, where do you guys get all of your money from? Prabhupada said, Krishna gives it to us. He goes, yeah, I know this Krishna. Like, where do you really get it from? Prabhupada looked at him and he said, Krishna's in your heart, and if he tells you, give the Swami all your money, then you will have to give it to me. That freaked him out. He was like, it's amazing what questions people ask. Like we have a book in our movement, Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. I think we could make another book, Imperfect Questions, Perfect Answers. People ask all kinds of questions. Prabhupada always brings out a profound point. People measure dhana by how much money you have. What is money? Actually, Prabhupada said it's nothing. It's just a piece of paper. It's all an illusion. Most of the money in this world is not even on a piece of paper. You know what it is? It's a number on a screen. And the most amazing thing is the computer that it's on could crash at any time. It happened a few weeks ago, right? Microsoft outage, 30 minutes. Finished. Most money in this world, you know what it is? It's just a number on a screen. What is that wealth? That dhana, it comes and goes. So ethereal, so illusory. So therefore sometimes it's said real wealth is gold. If you have gold, that's real, that's valuable, it's a precious thing, it's tangible, therefore it's wealth. But then later on, we can see that wealth can be seen in other ways. Sometimes it's said land is wealth, isn't it? New Vrindavan, how many? 2,000 acres. This is real wealth, to have land. Prabhupada often said cows. Cows means wealth, because cows give white gold, milk. Yellow gold, ghee. Black gold, cow dung. This is real wealth. Black gold. Okay. Can I have the other one? So wealth can be measured in so many ways. Sometimes people realize wealth is if I have health. If you have good health, that's wealth. That's real. Dalai Lama, he said, people are so crazy. They lose their health to get wealth, and then once they get their wealth, they spend that same wealth to try and get their health back. It's a crazy world. So what is wealth? Is it health? Maybe. Maybe wealth is time. If you have time in your life to do what you really want to do. How many of you feel like you have time in your life to do what you really want to do? All poor. We're all poor. No time. Prabhupada once wrote an article, No Time, the Chronic Disease of Modern Man. No time. So what's wealth? Time. But then we could see that wealth could be even more subtle than that. Wealth is good reputation. Wealth is knowledge. Sometimes it's said in Shastra, austerity is wealth of the Brahmanas. But you know what the ultimate wealth is? Beyond all of these things? The real wealth is how much love one has for Krishna. Every other wealth is inconsequential if it doesn't contribute to the development of prema. Therefore, Kaviraj Goswami says, Prema dhana vina vyartha, daridra jivan, dasakori vetan more deha prema dhan. He says, if I don't have pure love for Krishna, I must be considered an impoverished soul. Therefore, Krishna, please engage me in your service. And as my salary, All I ask for is the prema dhan, that you awaken some love within my heart. So sadhana is very powerful, because what is it said here? See this, the last line, Krishna prema janmere er pancher alpa sangha. These 5 items of devotional service, if you have alpa sangha, alpa means just a little bit. This you need to know this word when you go to Bengal, when they come and serve you rice. Alpa, alpa. Just a little bit. Mountain of rice. Alpa sangha. Little bit of connection with these 5 things. What happens? Krishna prema janma. The feelings of love for Krishna awaken within the heart. That's amazing. Just by a little contact. But what's happened right now is when we think of sadhana, we think of all these other words. Duty, forced, obligation, discipline, guilt, hard. Actually, sadhana is the most amazing gift that we have in our life. And what we're trying to do in Krishna consciousness is actually change our perception of all of these spiritual practices, because maybe we haven't quite invoked the full appreciation for them. I'm going to show you something on the screen. Little quiz time. It's 4 lines of words, and all I want you to do is very simple. All I want you to do is count the number of times you see the letter F. Simple enough? Okay, so you see the 4 lines, and I just want you to count the number of times you see the letter F. Thank you. All right, ready? Here we go. Jeopardy. 500 points. Okay. Quick off the mark there. Don't worry, there's no prizes to this morning. Okay, everyone got a number? I mean, it wasn't that hard. Everyone's like telling me, looking at me as though it was like, you got a number, right? Okay. Let's just see here. If you saw only 1, and that means you didn't see more than 1, then say 1 now. Okay. Thank God for that. 2, say 2. Don't wait for someone else to say 2. If you saw 2, only 2. 2, okay, there you go. An honest soul. It was a late night. Okay? If you saw 3, say 3. If you saw 3, say 3. Okay. If you saw 4, say 4. If you saw 5, say 5. We've got some work to do here to the side. This is problematic. If you saw 6, say 6. If you saw 6, say 6. No one saw 6? 6. Sure? Isn't that amazing? How is it that you can look at the same thing and come up with such different answers in such a simple? Take another look. And now, take a look at this. Interesting, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? Most people's human minds don't perceive an F when it's next to an O. That is how many people's human minds are wired. But someone here saw 6. She should get a round of applause. This opens up the potentiality that there are many things out there that we currently have no perception of, but are right before us. This opens up an incredible possibility. I'm just showing you it on a small scale. Now when we extrapolate this to spiritual things, what it means is that when we see a spiritual practice, we're perceiving a certain level of it, a certain dimension of it. But as you enter into deeper and deeper dimensions of these things, then what happens is you begin to see, experience, and emotionally become moved in a much more profound way. And this is why sadhana is so powerful. These 5 things, right now, our contact with them, I speak for myself and maybe some of you can relate, is on a very superficial level. So we're associating, but it's a little superficial. We're chanting, but it's a little superficial. And therefore we're only really seeing 1/6 or 1/5 or 2/3 or something of what that process has to offer us. But what Rupa Goswami is explaining is that when we refine our intention, when we refine our attention, when we do something with our heart, then these practices, sadhana, iti sadhana, they can awaken an incredible wealth within your own heart, which is the wealth of love. But it means one has to engage with them with a certain quality. It was funny actually, a few weeks ago I was at Heathrow Airport and I was flying somewhere and the flight got delayed. So then I decided to do something at Heathrow Airport that I've never done before in my life. Distribute books, no, done that one. You know what I did? I went to the prayer room. I went to the interfaith prayer room. I thought, let me check it out. Let's see what people are doing down there. So it was this morning, it was a Saturday morning, I went to the prayer room in Heathrow Airport. So I went into this prayer room, it was very quiet, so that was good. And it was in 3 sections. So the first section, there was a table and there was a Bible on it. There wasn't anyone in that part of the prayer room. Didn't seem to be a high demand on that side. Then the middle side were all these mats, and that was where a Muslim family was there, and they were doing namaz. So they were praying. So I walked past them, and then I went into the final third, and the final third was kind of like all other religions. So then there was no one in there, so I thought, all right, let me just sit down here and do my thing, do my namaz. So I sat down, there was a bench like this, so I sat down like this. And so I kind of could see the Muslims doing their namaz from the corner of my eye, so it was inspiring to see them. They were very attentive, unlike my japa. So then I put my hand in my bead bag, I started chanting. So I was chanting, I was sitting like this, I was chanting. And then, you try to get in, I was trying to like tune in, so then I closed my eyes and I was kind of like, and then I heard some footsteps. So my eyes were closed, I was chanting, but I could hear these footsteps. Someone had clearly walked into the room, but I was like, no, attentive japa, I'm not going to open my eyes. So then I just carried on chanting, but I could see there was someone in the room. There was a couple of footsteps. So then it kind of went on and on, like I was chanting, and after like 20, 30 seconds, I could see that whoever those footsteps were walking towards me. So I was like, okay, I've got to open my eyes now. So I was sitting like this, Heathrow Airport prayer room, chanting my japa. And then I opened my eyes, and you know who was in front of me? There were 2 security guards with machine guns. They were like this in front of me, 2 of them. And you know what happened? I was like, they didn't say hello or who I, anything. You know the first thing they said to me? Are you praying? I was like, I don't know, but I am now. It's like, I mean, when two people come in front of you with machine guns, like, are you praying? Like, okay, I'm praying. Please. So I said, yeah. I'm like, I mean, look at me, you know. They were like, okay, you're praying. You know this is a prayer room, right? I said, yeah, of course I know this is a prayer room. They said, yeah. So make sure, only prayer here. And then they walked off. Now that, for me, that was interesting. Because I mean, if you go into an airport prayer room, I mean, admittedly, I'm not a pure devotee, but I mean, I look like a religious person, you know what I mean? Like, I may not be like, you know, Paramahamsa or anything, but I mean, yeah. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Obvious. Like, I mean, if you saw me, I don't look like a crook, you know, like I'm a serious, like. But the amazing thing is, they wanted to know, like, are you praying? Are you And for me, that was Krishna. That was like Krishna telling me, like, yeah, this is not enough. It's just not enough. Are you really praying? So, yeah. Maybe they were like Yamadutas or something like that. Dressed up or something. So, when we do sadhana with intention, then what Rupa Goswami is saying is that Krishna prema janme er. If you don't, then what does the Chaitanya Charitamrita say? Bahu janma kara jadi shravana kirtan tabutana paye Krishna pade prema dhan. Bahu janma. You can do it for lifetimes. Hear and chant, do so many things. Tabutana paye Krishna pade prema dhan, but you may not awaken love for Krishna. So is sadhana, if you want to awaken the potentiality of what sadhana has to offer, remember, it's eternal wealth. It means that we have to begin to interface with these things on a deeper level. And what happens is when we do these things on a deeper level, then we actually experience incredible things. Here, the very first thing is sadhu sangha, relationships with other devotees. Put your hands up if you find relationships with other devotees challenging. Yeah, the feeling's mutual. One devotee came to Srila Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I just can't tolerate this devotee anymore. Prabhupada said, you have to tolerate him just like I'm tolerating you. So sometimes we do sadhu sangha, we're not aware. We kind of look at each other, we scope each other out, we kind of measure each other up and find faults and see imperfections. We have a lot of conflict. It's very, very difficult to cooperate with each other. And sometimes we're not perceiving how amazing this is, that we're together. That we're actually sincere souls together learning to love Krishna. This is actually incredibly powerful. When you actually do sadhu sangha in a deeper way, when we actually learn the art of how to serve others and appreciate others from the heart, then what happens is we develop a bond with other Vaishnavas that is beyond any kind of love in this world. You know, the love exchanged between devotees, between saintly people, is an unspeakable, unheard of type of love in this world. You know, like sometimes teenage kids, they have this kind of concept of being lovesick, isn't it? You know that one? Everyone's like, nah, come on, be honest. Lovesick. I'm in love with someone and I just can't, I don't feel right because I'm not with them, and it's like, it makes me... I lost my heart in Vrindavan. Jai Advaita Swami said, I hope you lost it to the right person. I lost my heart in New Vrindavan. We're watching you guys, we know what goes on. Anyway, put that to one side for now. Lovesick. But you know, the relationships with devotees are so powerful. Forget about lovesick. the separation from a devotee is so acute that they can't maintain their life. Imagine you love someone so much that separation from them is too much and it means you have to leave your body. If you go today to Radha Kund and then you go in between Radha Kund and Shama Kund and you go to the samadhis on the top, then there's the samadhis of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. And you know the most incredible thing is they all left their body on the same day of the year in different years. Because it's said on each year when they were remembering the disappearance of their beloved associate, it pained their heart so much that they left their body. That's the pain. That's the transcendental love that's experienced. That is so deep. Sadhu Sangha is such a powerful anga. Like when I came to the movement, I was kind of like an introvert, shy person. So for me, when I became a monk, I was like, it's me, Krishna, and everyone else, see you later. Like, I don't want to get into relationships. I don't want, it's me and Krishna. Like, I was a bit of a strange kid. I didn't want like, I didn't like relationships. Oh, relationships. I was reading a Buddhist book when I was young, and it said the perfection for a monk is if they die and nobody knows and nobody cries. And I was like, yo, sign me up for that one. That sounds amazing. This was my mentality. So when I came to the Brahmacharya ashram, I told one devotee this story. I was like, this is amazing, check this out, you know, like this is the perfection for a monk. And he goes, this is Mayavad. What do you mean Mayavad? This is like cool. And he's like, no, it's all about relationships, it's all about love. I was like, relationships, love? What are you guys all about, man? But as years have gone by, I've realized the relationships you have with the other devotees are the most, there's nothing more valuable, hands down. If you ask me today, what's the most valuable thing you have in your life? Hands down, it's relationships with devotees. It's so powerful, sadhu sangha. To know the art of how to do that moves the heart in a different way. And therefore, as we go deeper in each one of these things, Nam Kirtan, like sometimes we have these bad impressions about chanting. That is, chanting is a chore, chanting is a discipline, chanting is force, like why do I really have to do this? We have these really like, one time one person, he came to the temple and he goes, why do you guys say 16 rounds? He said, when I was young, my parents gave me a number, a percentage that I had to get in an exam. When I started work, my boss started giving me targets. When I got married, even my wife started giving me targets. He said, my whole life people have been giving me numbers. Now I come to the temple, I just want to relax. Relax. And then you guys start giving me numbers. 4 regs, 16 rounds, 9 processes, 64 items. So what's all with all these numbers? I do it from my heart. Dil se. I do it from my heart. I don't believe in all these numbers. And then he said, and then he looked at me, he said, where does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita 16 rounds? Where does Krishna say? So we were like, wow. Because where does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita 16 rounds? So one devotee just opened up the Gita and he said, Krishna doesn't say 16 rounds, Krishna says 24 hours. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha drida vrita nama shantas tu mam bhaktya nitya yukta upashate. So the guy goes, I'll take the 16 rounds. So 24 hours, Krishna says. He goes, where's the... Okay, I'll do 16 rounds. So people like, it's all these, we find it difficult. You know, like it's pressure on our head, like all this sadhana, these numbers, it's a struggle. It's a real struggle sometimes. You see devotee, like, how many of you feel like you struggle in your japa? It's a struggle. One time a new person came to the temple at japa time. So, you know, like you walk into a temple room during a Hare Krishna temple japa. It's like, so he sat down, he doesn't know he's here for the first time, so he's watching everyone doing their japa. So I thought, I better go up and speak to this person, you know. So I went up to him, I said, yeah, well, welcome to the temple. He said, what's happening here? I said, yeah, this is what we do every day, we chant. He goes, simple. I go, this is the most sublime process. Just chant and be happy. And then in that moment when I said that, both of us looked around the room. For the first time in my life, I saw the room through his eyes, you know. And you know, like one devotee was like, Hare Krishna, you know, like it looked like he's half possessed or something. Then another one was like half in his sleeping bag, and then, you know, another one was going around Tulsi like, you know, like it was a 200-meter sprint or something, Olympics or something. And it's like, and practically all of the devotees were falling asleep. I mean, devotees can sleep anywhere. This is like empowerment. I've seen, I was in one japa time once, a devotee was walking, he was so tired that he was falling asleep while walking. Right, so it was very interesting because what happened is he went round Tulsi, like the sharp corner around Tulsi, and then he was falling asleep. And then on the side there was another devotee who was in like semi-consciousness as well. And so he was also kind of asleep. And then this devotee, he kind of fell asleep while walking, and then he kind of collapsed and he hit this other devotee who was sleeping, and they hit each other and they just woke up. And then they looked at each other like, Prabhu, you were sleeping. I think that, so, I mean, it was so this person, he was looking at this whole japa time, he goes, chant and be happy. These guys look like they're struggling. I said, yeah, chant, struggle, be happy. It's a bit of struggle, we're fighting in between. So it's hard. We chant the holy name of Krishna and it's hard. It doesn't feel like we're getting anything from this. But eventually what happens is, Prabhupada explains, Nam and all the sweetness of Nam begins to manifest. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It said that Nam is the Vigraha, the very embodiment of all rasa, all sweetness. So therefore it said that the great devotees, when they learn the art of how to chant Krishna's names, then they simply put their hand in a bead bag, they begin to chant Krishna's names, and they enter into a different world. That's why if you go to Vrindavan today, you can see all these bhajan kutirs. And many of these bhajan kutirs, they're underground. And devotees, they just went into these bhajan kutirs, they began chanting, and they didn't stop. They just carried on. Because Nama, Guna, Rupa, Leela, Nama was a trigger. And through that Nam, they began to perceive the qualities of Krishna. And as that happened, then they began to perceive the form of Krishna. And then it said that all the pastimes of the Lord were beginning to be revealed within their own consciousness. Because Nam no hi yavati shakti papa nirharane hare. We can't understand the Shakti that Nam has. So it's very, very powerful, but it means one has to go to a deeper level in japa, in kirtan. Like Mahaprabhu's kirtans are described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur. It's explained that when the Harinam party came through, it was like a whirlwind. Felt like a whirlwind today. The kirtan party was like a whirlwind. And it said the kirtan party would come by a village, and people from the village would get sucked into the whirlwind. And you know what? It said that the Harinam party would move on. And sometimes you'd never see those villagers ever again in your life. It said that sometimes the Harinam party went past the village and it just cleared out entire villages. People just went missing. Missing person. Amazing. This is all going on. But one must refine their consciousness. One must understand this sadhana is not just something heavy. It's something which has the potential to take you into a whole nother world of experience. Bhagavata Shravan, reading Bhagavatam is difficult for us. Right? It's hard. I was giving a class once and someone said, that was an amazing class. I said, what did you like? He said, you finished on time. It's so hard to listen. It's so hard to be attentive. Most of the time when we go to people's homes, the Bhagavatam is still in the plastic. I grew up in a Gujarati house. Everything is in plastic. The remote control is in plastic. Sofas are in plastic. It's like, oh, you just got new sofas. No, we've had these for 20 years. Why is the plastic still on it? So sometimes when I go to the Gujarati house, I tell them, you don't have to keep the plastic on this one. You can keep on the... Who's reading? Who's reading Bhagavatam? But when one understands, why do we read Bhagavatam? Why do we read about Krishna? Because what we're actually trying to establish within our consciousness is that this world, the world of the Bhagavatam, is more real than this world. That's what we're trying to do when we read Bhagavatam. What we're doing by sustained hearing is we're actually trying to understand that the world of the Bhagavatam is more real than this world that we're living in. It's like these pictures are here, and Prabhupada said these pictures are windows to the spiritual world. So it comes to the point where we look out of the normal window and we think that's the illusory world, and we look into this window and think this is the real world. That's what the great devotees are perceiving. So sometimes it's said that the initial level of reading the Bhagavatam is that you go, here's the Bhagavatam. You go into the Bhagavatam, you read it, you get some knowledge and inspiration, and then you close the book and then you go back to your life. That's what most people are doing. But actually, you know the deeper stage of Bhagavatam? Is you open the Bhagavatam, you read it, and then you just stay here. You just stay here. This is a whole world. This is Krishna's world. Prabhupada writes in the Bhagavatam, for one who hears with rapt attention, they can see Krishna on every page. That's why Gadadhar Pandit, his copy of the Bhagavatam, Srinivasacharya came to him to learn Bhagavatam. So Gadadhar Pandit said, okay, sit down, let's listen to Bhagavatam. He opened it. Srinivasacharya said, I can't read any of this. He said, why? Because everything is smudged. And why was it smudged? Because when Gadadhar Pandit would read Bhagavatam, he would cry streams of tears. This is powerful. But it means one has to go deeper. It means one has to spend time with the Bhagavatam. It means one has to go beyond just a ritualistic interaction. And all of these things, Mathura Vas, we go to Vrindavan, we see something. For the great devotees, they are seeing Krishna's pastimes in front of their eyes. They really lost their heart in Vrindavan. Vrindavan is, holy places are known as a tirtha. Tirtha is a very interesting Sanskrit word. Tirtha literally means a bridge. So a holy place is a bridge, it's a portal, it's a gateway, it's an entrance. And it means that in those places, one can actually experience eternity. Eternity is much closer. Eternity is perceivable. Eternity is reachable if one has the vision. If one Vishaya Charya, if one goes with pure consciousness, one can begin to perceive incredible things. And Murti Seva, so powerful to worship the deity, because it's the most intimate connection with Krishna. Because when Krishna comes in this form, Krishna becomes completely dependent on the devotee. That's why Archa Vigraha, that's why Archa Seva, Archanam is so powerful, because in this form, Krishna makes himself completely dependent on his devotee. And therefore, one who enters into this relationship with Krishna in this form can actually begin to contact Krishna in very powerful ways. Therefore, you find the great devotees, when they do Murti Seva, they're communicating with Krishna. They're experiencing a tangible relationship with Krishna. Just like in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's times, there was someone called Vamsidas Babaji. You may have heard. So let's just say he was a little unconventional. But Vamsidas Babaji, he had his own deities. He had 6 deities: Gora, Gadadhar, Nityananda, Bal Gopal, and Radha Krishna. 6 sets of deities. So he used to take them everywhere. And if anyone used to speak to him, you know how he would reply? He wouldn't speak to anyone. He would only speak to his deities. So if someone would speak to him, he would start speaking to his deities. Oh, this guy is coming to me now, he's asking all of this, like, what shall I tell him? Like, okay, you know, and he's just speaking to his deities. You'd never have another conversation with anyone else, just speak to his deities. Speaking to Krishna. He had a servant, I think his servant's name was Ananta Vishwambar, if I remember. So one time he came to his servant and he said, Gauranga is speaking to me. So his servant said, what did he tell you? What did he say? So he said, Gauranga's telling me that now you've become old, don't worry, you don't need to go out to collect alms. I'll go to collect alms for you. So his servant is thinking like, wow. So Vamsidas Babaji looks at his servant, he says, you better go and tell Gauranga that don't even think about serving me. So his servant's like, his mind is blown. And then Vamsidas Babaji just gets so angry, he goes, you better convince Gauranga that he can't serve me, and if you don't, I'm going to get a stick out, I'm going to break Gauranga's legs. Don't try this at home. This is very high level. He's communicating with his deities. It's said that once he was worshipping his 6 sets of deities, and someone saw that he hadn't offered any bhoga for 3 days. He was just absorbed in chanting and other things. He didn't offer any bhoga. So this person came, he said, I haven't had bhoga for 6 days, 3 days. And you know what his reply was? He goes, Gauranga and Gadadhar are there. He goes, they can cook for each other. Then he goes, Bal Gopal is there. Every day a cow is coming. If he's hungry, he can just go take milk from the cow. He goes, Radha and Krishna, he goes, these guys, they're all out in the forest doing their own thing. Half of the time, they're not even here. And he goes, Nityananda? He goes, me and Nityananda, we're on the same page. We're both avadutas, so he doesn't mind. Amazing. What kind of experience one is having. So therefore, what we're trying to do today, we're talking all about sadhana. And instead of talking about all these heavy words, what we need to begin to see is that sadhana is your greatest wealth. Because if we learn to do these things in a powerful way, with real intention and real attention, then the whole spiritual world can open up. That is the gift of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming through Rupa Goswami, who documented all these things. And Srila Prabhupada, he came to give us these gifts. And so, tireless, Srila Prabhupada was traveling everywhere, trying to give people this sadhana, this gift, saying take it seriously. Try to really put some heart into it. Try to really give the best of yourself to doing these things. And if you do, then life will become very, very beautiful. And so these are some thoughts I wanted to share with you today. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Kind of went over, so what shall I do? Shall I take questions or not?
You actually have 15 minutes more.
Oh, I have 15 minutes? Okay. All right. So maybe there are some questions or comments or corrections. Yes. You can shout maybe until the mic comes and then I'll repeat.
Hi, Krishna Maharaj. My name is Sanskrini. So today you mentioned the importance of setting an intention while doing our sadhana. So I wanted to ask, what should be our intention while we're doing our japa?
What should be our intention while we're doing japa? Love is showed in, ultimately all of these acts of sadhana are a way of expressing our love for Krishna. When you chant, it's basically expressing your complete realization that without being connected with you, Krishna, my life is not worthwhile. And therefore, what the basic intention of sadhana is to show our love for Krishna. Now, at different stages, your love for Krishna may be shown through your sadhana in different ways. In the beginning, your love for Krishna in japa, so let's take japa for example. Your love for Krishna is showed in the beginning by just being present, by doing it every single day, by doing it at the best time of the day, by doing it with the best of environments around you, by prioritizing it and not multitasking it with anything else. That is a way of showing your love for Krishna in the beginning. That I take this as important and therefore let me do my japa with real attention to this. Later on, you don't just do that, but what you begin to do is you begin to try to be very intentional when you're doing it in terms of where your mind is at and what you're meditating on. Prabhupada gave us the meaning of the mantra, "O Krishna, O Radha, please engage me in your service." So the intention that we set later on in our japa is we try to really be in this mood that when we're chanting, we're praying, Krishna, Hare Krishna, please engage me in your service, please, I want to see you, but it takes so long. And then later on, one's love and one's intention in japa is shown through the heart. Because one is just expressing from their heart their complete eagerness to be with Krishna. And that's the highest, that's Shuddhanam, that's the highest level of chanting. So what I tell people is chanting means the hand, the head, and the heart. In the beginning, at least get the hand, the activity, get your hand in a bead bag, and at least try to do it in the best way possible. And then later on, try to be more intentional. Try to remember who you're chanting for, why you're chanting. And then later on, from the heart, then you cry, to cry for Krishna. That's the highest level. Govinda Maharaj said, we're not opening temples, we're opening crying houses, where people can learn the art of how to cry for Krishna. So you have to learn how to cry for Krishna. I'm quite tall, so whenever I go on planes, I try to get the emergency seat. So I usually have a good hit rate nowadays, getting the emergency seat. But there's one downside of the emergency seats. You know what it is? That's where the babies hang out. So once I was on a flight going to Cairo, Egypt Air. So I got in the plane and I was in the emergency seat, nobody was around me, and it was like, my God, this is like Vaikunta, it was brilliant. And then right at the end, all these people came, they surrounded me, and then there was one baby, and this baby was loud, and this baby was crying like anything, no need for any amplification system. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a long flight. And then I remembered Prabhupada said, when you chant, you should chant like a baby cries for the mother. So I thought, let me try it out. So I put my hand in my bead bag, and every time the baby was like, ah, I was just like, Hare Krishna. It was pretty good. I tried some good rounds on that flight. It was nice. Yes, to cry for Krishna. Seems so far away, is it? Right now we're crying for so many material things. Oh, he left me, she left me. India lost the World Cup. England lost. So many. Madhvacharya says if you add up all the tears that the conditioned soul has shed for lifetimes, it would be enough to fill oceans. Cried for so many things. And you cry for Krishna. That's what we're trying. So yeah, it's very deep. We have to set that intention. Otherwise it becomes very hollow. Otherwise definitely we'll get bored chanting. I see hands. You got the mic, Yash, you choose otherwise. Yes.
Thank you very much for waking us up this morning in such a wonderful way. You were mentioning lately, but I come from a place the difficulty of some of the other aspects of sadhana, not getting anything out of it.
I'm not getting any taste.
It reminded me of what you were just mentioning, say it a different way. I was in an organization in my younger life, for devotee life, and it was called Job's Daughters. So it wasn't really spiritual, although I think they mentioned God, but mostly just to build a good moral character and try to improve society by improving the quality of young women. And then they had another one for men called Evelyn. So they had these people that were called the mother and father of Bethel. The Bethel was
Oh yeah.
and each and every week we met. And each and every week the father, I remember the father Corey, he'd get up and he would say the same exact thing every week. It was totally predictable. You only get out of life what you put in.
Put it.
So exchange life for sadhana.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there was one of the first Vaishnavas, Western Vaishnavas, was Richard Nixon. His name was Richard Nixon, I think, but he became Krishna Prem. He wasn't in a Gaudiya Vaishnava, he was Vaishnava. And his guru was actually a yogi. And he was asked, because when she left her body after many years, he took over the leadership of the group. So what is the difficulty in chanting? And he gave a very simple, explicit answer: you're simply not interested.
Yeah, not interested. So right in front of Krishna, but self-absorbed. Once I was doing japa in front of in one home. There was a beautiful picture of Krishna Balaram. So I was going back and forth doing my japa. So I did it for about 2 hours. And it was amazing because after 2 hours, I realized that every time I was walking towards the picture, instead of seeing Krishna Balaram, I was looking at my own reflection in the glass. And I realized, oh my God, right in front of Krishna, but still interested in yourself. And because we're not interested in Krishna, because we're interested in ourselves, absorbed in our own, then we miss the opportunity. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So my question was about, you mentioned all these different aspects of our sadhana, like japa, reading, doing kirtan, associating with devotees. So I was just wondering about how do we balance all these different aspects, and what do we give more importance to in our everyday life? Because sometimes on a day-to-day basis, you can't get association every day, but you can do your japa every day. You might not be able to do kirtan in a group every day, but you can always sit down and read. So what should we give more importance to, and how do we kind of balance that throughout our day-to-day lives?
Okay, thank you so much. Rupa Goswami says there are 64 items of devotional service, and then he says amongst them 9 are primary. And then he says amongst the 9, 3 are primary. Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam. And then he says amongst those 3, Kirtanam is primary. And he says within Kirtanam there is different types of Kirtan. Leela Kirtan, Guna Kirtan, Nama Kirtan. And he says amongst all the different types of Kirtan, he says Nam Kirtan is the most important. So if you were to summarize it like that, 64 items, 9. Of the 9, 3. Of the 3, 1. Within that 1, there are divisions, Nam Kirtan. That is perhaps the most important. However, all the other aspects here give life to Kirtan. When you hear Bhagavatam and then you chant the holy name of Krishna, then it has a different effect. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, Hari Kirtan is like Krishna, and Hari Katha is like Srimati Radharani. And he said, just as we never worship Krishna without Srimati Radharani, we never do Hari Kirtan without Hari Katha. Because if you do Hari Kirtan, but you don't do Hari Katha, then maybe when you chant the holy name, the right conception, the right intention, the right orientation of your consciousness may not be there. So, hearing and chanting are perhaps the most important. And therefore, what everyone needs to do is everyone needs to fence off a time in your day when you just shut off from the world. When I went to India and then I was meeting different people, I met one yogi somewhere. And he gave me some advice. He said, every year, disconnect for 1 month. Every month, disconnect for 1 day. And every day, disconnect for 1 hour. And when I say disconnect, I mean really disconnect. And that means no phones. Maybe even no people around you. Maybe just spend that time alone with Krishna. So if you spend 1 hour every day, if more, great. But 1 hour, when you don't deal with the world, when you don't think about the world, when you remember, I'm not part of this world anyway. I'm just here for some time. I'm part of another world. And I'm going to live in that world for this 1 hour. And you know what? It's going to be hard. Because when you're trying to get into that world, it's like no entry. The gate is locked. And you're like, I'm trying to get in, but I can't get in. But you keep knocking. And when you keep knocking, then eventually Krishna opens it from the inside. And when Krishna opens it from the inside and you enter that world, then we may not have to say, like, how do I fit it all in? Because it's not a question of time, it's a question of desire. So in the beginning, just a time in the day, 1 hour, and be alone with Krishna, hearing and chanting, and see how it changes your life. And you'll have to struggle. Be alone, reading the Bhagavatam, and you will have to struggle. It's not romantic. It requires some commitment. But when you do it, eventually the Bhagavatam will become your best friend. That's what Sanatana Goswami said. Madeka bandhu, mad sangin, mad guru man mahadhana. He said, the Bhagavatam is my best friend, the Bhagavatam is my constant companion. So it takes time to get there, but some time every day, and focus beginning with hearing and chanting, 1 hour every day, disconnect, nothing else. Throw away the phone. Try it. You're already doing it, but with more quality, and see the results. See, we don't invest in the parts of our life that people don't see. A devotee lives in the invisible world. And if you spend time in that invisible world, people may not appreciate you for it. People may not acknowledge you for it. People may not give you claps for that. You definitely ain't going to get any likes on Facebook for that one. But that's going to drive the whole trajectory of your life. So don't forget to spend time in the invisible world. That's the real world. This world, just the illusion. I see loads of hands, but I don't know, like how we do for time.
Hare Krishna. So one of the things said here is Mathura Vasa and living in Vrindavan. I think as people not in Vrindavan and living in the Western world, how can we encompass that quality in our lives today? If we cannot go to Vrindavan or having difficulties reaching the Dham, how do we encompass that in our life?
So we want to live in Vrindavan. We want to live in that sacred place. So that question, it depends who you would ask. If you ask Prabodhananda Saraswati, he'll tell you, throw it all away, leave it all behind, give it all up, and just run to Vrindavan. But I'm not Prabodhananda Saraswati, so I won't say that to you. Jiva Goswami explains in the Sandarbhas that Vrindavan is not just a geographical place, it's a state of consciousness. Vrindavan is any place where Krishna is the center. So wherever you go, you have the opportunity to make that into Vrindavan. So you can make your home into Vrindavan. That's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur did, because he sings, Jai Dina Grihe Bhajana Deki Grihete Goloka Bhai. Every single day when I go home and I do my bhajan at home, I see the whole spiritual world manifest before me. One devotee said, my house is also a dham, Kurukshetra. I said, okay, that's good. Which one was it? The one when Krishna is speaking the Gita, or the other one? You can make your home into a dham, and ultimately you have to make your heart into a dham. That means Krishna has to be there. It comes to the point where you begin to connect everything in your life to Krishna. In the beginning, we're like compartmentalizing my life. Like, this is the time when I'm with the devotees at TSI, and then I go back to my normal life. The double life. So you see the advancement of devotee. You know, one way to see the advancement of a devotee, look at their profile picture on Insta. Do you have tilak on your Insta profile picture? Have you come out and be a Hare Krishna? Come out the closet. So later on, what happens is your whole life, Krishna begins to pervade. It's like Krishna just has to be there in everything. It's like devotees do that. They're just like, they see Krishna in everything. It's amazing, like Krishna, they're always thinking about Krishna somewhere. They bring it in. Like I remember once when I joined the temple, then we were driving the Sankirtan car, so... Anyway, I won't tell that story. That's controversial, I won't tell you. But yes, think of Krishna everywhere, and then it becomes Vrindavan. But it's special to go to Bhoma Vrindavan, to go to that very, very holy place. Srila Prabhupada opened Vrindavan up for the whole world, and he wanted us to go there. So somehow we have to go there, we have to pray, we have to desire. You can't buy a ticket to Vrindavan. Even Mahaprabhu tried to go Vrindavan many times and he couldn't. So he was teaching us, you got to desire it. And then when you desire it and you go to Vrindavan, then Vrindavan touches you in a different way. So yes, please do go to Vrindavan. Once I was in Vrindavan and I was leaving, so I met one Brajabasi and he said, where are you going? I said, I'm going back to London. He was like, London? So he gave me the worst look ever. He's like, why are you going to London? You're in Vrindavan. I said, yeah, but in London I have my service. And he said, all reality outside of Vrindavan is a dream. And all dreams inside Vrindavan are reality. He said, just stay here. So it was tempting. But I said, I have no purity. I have no qualification. I have no vision to see Vrindavan. So I have to leave. And then I have to try and do some service for Srila Prabhupada. And maybe after doing some service for Srila Prabhupada and making some sacrifice, maybe then I'll get a glimpse of the real Vrindavan. And then maybe we'll begin to see Vrindavan everywhere. Because Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pasyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. Krishna says, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. That is the real Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.